Hey everybody, and welcome to the playthrough. I'm DoctorJ. For those of you who are listening to this on audio only, just know that there's a couple of videos that go along with this, and you can see those at theplaythru.net. Head on over there and see the videos and some of our other content that we've got. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about a fun game, one of my favorite games, Terraforming Mars. For those of you who already know how to play Terraforming Mars, go ahead and click the link above and you can skip straight to our group discussion on the game and see how we feel about it. For those of you who don't, stick around right now and we're going to teach you a little bit about how to play Terraforming Mars. So in Terraforming Mars, players take on the role of giant Earth-based corporations who are trying to make a name for themselves as the premier terraforming company out there. And the way that you do that is by having the highest terraforming rating at the end of the game. If you look here on the player board, there's a number track that goes around the outside. That is the terraforming track, and so you're trying to basically have the highest score on that track at the end of the game. The game ends when 3 conditions are met. The first, if we look here at the board along the top, there's an oxygen track. When that oxygen track makes it all the way to the top, when all 9 of these ocean tiles are played, and when the temperature track makes it all the way to the top, the game ends and we check the score and see who has the highest terraforming rating. So how do you raise your terraforming rating? Well, anytime during the game that you raise one of these tracks or place an ocean tile on the board, your terraforming rating is going to go up. So let's talk about how you terraform Mars. Let's start with the player boards. So if you can see here, each player board is strictly for keeping track of your resources. So we have these different cubes over here that represent our resources. We have copper, which are just ones, silvers, which represent 5, and the golds, which represent 10. So the different resources we have are mega credits, steel, titanium, plants, energy, and heat. So, and if you notice at the middle of the board, we have these tracks that correspond to each of the different resources. So the tracks represent your income, or how much of those resources you're going to get every round. And then the cubes inside represent how many you currently have. And so you spend those resources to take different actions on your turn. So let's talk about the different actions you can take on your turn. First and most importantly, probably, the action that you'll be focusing on is playing cards out of your hand. So at the beginning of every round, you're going to get dealt 4 cards. And you take a look at them and you say, okay, some of these I like, some of them I don't. For every card that you decide to keep and add to your hand, you have to pay 3 mega credits for. So if I were to look at these and I say, okay, I want to keep these 2 cards, I'd pay 6 mega credits for them and add them to my hand, and I would discard the other 2. So on my turn, on any player's turn, you're allowed to take 1 or 2 actions, or you can pass. And everyone just takes turns until everybody has decided they don't want to take any more actions, and they all pass. So if I choose to play a card, I look at the cards in my hand, and I have to pay the cost in order to play them. So let's take a look at these cards here, what the cards have on them. First, every card has a cost in the top left. That's the amount of mega credits you're going to have to pay in order to play the card. Next to that is the requirements that have to be met. In this instance, the max temperature can only be, the max oxygen level can only be 9%. If it's above 9%, you can't play the card. In the top right, we have tags which relate to the different cards. And on the bottom, we have an immediate effect. It's important to note that with the immediate effects, anything that's got a brown background, that's going to be influencing your production tracks and not your resources themselves. So on your turn, you can either play 1 or 2 cards, or you can do other actions. And we'll talk about those other actions in just a second. But first, let's talk about some of the other cards. So we have blue cards, which are a lot like the green cards, except they give you continuous bonuses throughout the game. For instance, here, once per round, as an action, you can pay 3 energy to increase the oxygen level. This one, these red cards, they are instant effects that lots of times will raise the tracks and increase your terraforming rating. They're kind of more expensive, but they're really cool one-time event cards. So playing cards is one of the actions that you can take on your turn. We're going to talk now about some of the other actions you can take instead. So if you look at your player board here, you'll notice that the plants and the heat each have a little box here that says 8. That means as an action, you can pay 8 plants to place a greenery tile on the board. And what greenery tiles do is they will increase the oxygen level on Mars, which will in turn increase your terraforming rating and get you a higher score. If you pay 8 heat, you just move up the temperature track 1, and again, you move up your terraforming rating when you do that. So there's also other tiles in the game that you can place on Mars. There's special tiles and there's city tiles, and those don't raise your terraforming rating, but they can give you points at the end of the game depending on what they do. Some other actions that you can take on your turn, you can do standard projects, and these are shown on the game board over here. At any time, you can pay however many mega credits you want, or for whichever project you want to do. If you want to build a power plant, it's 11, and you increase your energy production. If you want to place a city, it's 25, and you increase your mega credits production. And then you can also take an action to either fund an award or do a milestone. They're just kind of end game scoring points that we're not going to really go into too much detail right now. And basically that's how you play Terraforming Mars. Like I said, everybody takes turns either taking actions or passing, and we just keep going in more rounds until, again, the oxygen hits the top, all the ocean tiles have been placed, and the temperature makes it all the way to the top. It's a little bit more complex than just activating some alien device at the core of Mars the way Arnold Schwarzenegger did in Total Recall, but I think it's just as fun as Total Recall was. And plus there's the benefit of not having crazy weird tumor alien babies growing on people's stomachs. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here on another How to Play video from the playthrough. If you'd like to hear the whole group discuss the game, go ahead and click the video up here, and make sure to check us out on Facebook and like and subscribe.